I wanted to do a quick video today on the ego and what just came to me. So the ego thrives off of power and control. Like that's what it wants. And power is not a bad thing if it comes from God. So the goal is not to shame or put down the ego. The goal is to teach the ego that true power comes from God and living in alignment with God and obeying God versus, rebelling. There is a collective script in the consciousness of the collective where we naturally want to rebel. This is why when people are told one thing, they naturally want to do another, because the ego is programmed to seek control, and it needs to learn to surrender. And it also needs to learn that surrendering is actually giving it more power in the end than what it thinks is power. And there's a perfect example of this. When I awakened 6 years ago, I was specifically told, do not drink coffee or tea, because coffee and tea and just caffeine in general completely disconnects people from their spirit, because it creates this fight or flight mentality, and it plugs people into the matrix. It plugs them into the illusion, because when you get amped up on that kind of stuff, you hyper focus on the material world, and you can disconnect from the spiritual realm. So, of course, I didn't listen, and I drank coffee and tea on on and off for the past 6 years. Now, as I was doing it, I was analyzing why I was doing it and analyzing the process that when I would drink these substances, I would plug myself into the matrix. I would care about things that I didn't really care about. My moods would shift. The entities or thought streams that possessed my mind, I wasn't as much in control. So this is just something I've learned, is that throughout this process to get to where I am, I've noticed that I naturally, when I was told stuff, sometimes I would want to rebel against it, right? Because I felt like I wasn't choosing it. And so part of this is supposed to be choice, right? So when you obey and whatnot, you have to choose to do it. So this is why, people that grow up in religion, a lot of people just obey in religion, but they're not thinking through why they're obeying. So if you don't actually understand why you're choosing what you're doing and understand the ramifications of your actions, then you're not going to progress to a higher level. You must know good and evil and choose good. You can't just be ignorant, right? There are a lot of people in this world that are in ignorance, which when you're in ignorance, you're not looked upon a specific way. But once you awaken and the veil kind of comes down and you see, the hell that you're in, that's when real accountability starts. That's when I believe Judgment Day truly begins. And what people need to understand is that you're basically judging yourself and if you're worthy of uniting with God, essentially. You are your own judge, because God is in everyone, and God is always guiding people back to uniting with God. And life is always trying to help people, and it's set up perfectly to test, because you have to choose. That's it. Because in order to go and progress from this type of world, you won't be able to live in other realms outside of this one if you don't understand the ramifications of your actions and understand the rebellious streak that the ego is programmed. And it is possible to tame the ego and get it to surrender, because that's what I've been working on all of these years. And I've gotten it myself to a really good spot. And what I'm learning my ego is now craving is the abundance and power that God provides me. And my ego now recognizes that the power that God gives me is something this world could never provide for me. And it took me doing actions that went against my soul to retrain my ego to obey. And so that is the ultimate goal, and it is possible.